Did you know that 95% of people with ADHD struggle with procrastination? And the other 5% are guys with mild cases who got the help and support they needed to develop their executive functioning, and now they just use planners and reminders to get things they need to do done, and that solved all of their problems. All right, I made up that statistic, but it feels true. And so many people with ADHD struggle with procrastination. So you are not alone. Neurotypical people will tell you that procrastination means that you're lazy, and that could not be further from the truth. Neurodivergent people, especially those of us who are trying to live a normal life and experience some level of happiness and success, are far from lazy. You are working so much harder than any neurotypical person who is at the same stage in life as you are. Please stop gaslighting yourself by saying that you're lazy, as if shame is going to magically cure the way your brain works. I used to be a chronic procrastinator, and it caused many problems and difficulties in my life. And while I do still procrastinate, understanding why has helped me to struggle with it less. There are valid reasons for why we procrastinate. And if we can pinpoint what those reasons are, we can get the help and support that we need to get things done. So in this video, let's talk about 5 reasons that people with ADHD procrastinate and some strategies that might help you overcome them. And at the end, I have a bonus tip for you, so make sure you stick around for that. Let's get into it. The first reason that we procrastinate is that we think that's the only way we can get things done. Now, maybe this has been true for you up until now, but eventually it doesn't work. As you get older, the things that we need to do and want to accomplish get more complex and have multiple stages. So we can't just procrastinate everything until the last minute and rely on stress to motivate us. This is also not good for you. That stress and adrenaline take a toll on our bodies. Our brains have those chemicals so we can get ourselves out of life and death situations, not so we can meet deadlines. We are not meant to use those systems all of the time in normal everyday life. A few things that I did in order to get over this kind of procrastination. The first and really important step is to get out of that constantly activated fight or flight state. When you learn tools for grounding and you're actually able to relax, it becomes much less beneficial to motivate yourself by triggering that fight or flight, and you realize how harmful it is for your body. Once you do that, it's so much easier to learn additional tools and strategies to motivate yourself to get things done. And it's also so much more effective. Other thing that I've done is try to pursue things that I'm genuinely interested in doing, and that really does help. While there will always be things that you don't want to do, if you get to spend the majority of your time doing things you're actually interested in, it makes getting through the things that you don't want to do so much easier. The other thing that I did was to get an official diagnosis for my ADHD and find the right medication. I used to be terrified of taking meds for my ADHD until I was struggling so much and exhausted all other options that I was desperate and I was willing to try anything that would help. My medication journey was a difficult one, so if you want me to make a video about that, let me know in the comments. Finding the right medication has been the most sustainable solution that I have ever found to helping me manage my struggles with ADHD. It is not a silver bullet, and medication is not going to solve every single one of your problems, but it can definitely make your life easier when you find what works for you. The second reason that people with ADHD procrastinate is that starting things is the hardest part. Those of us who are neurodivergent often struggle with transitions and getting started. Plus, many of us are chronic overthinkers, and we think about the entire process and all the steps we need to take, problems we might run into before we even get started. If neurotypical brains are like cars with push to start, neurodivergent brains are 30-year-old lawnmowers that you have to crank and pull that lever with the right force and speed in order to get them going. You have to use a ton of energy and get it exactly right for the engine to start. That's because the knowing and the doing parts of our brain are not exactly connected in the same way. So once we get going, it's easy to keep going and hard to stop. But it takes us a lot of energy to get going in the first place. A few things that have helped me with this are making the first step simpler. Break the thing you need to do down into the smallest, easiest thing that you can do to get started. Don't think about the rest of the process, and then take that first step. Once you do, give yourself a pat on the back just for getting started. You don't have to literally pat yourself on the back, but seriously, tell yourself good job just for starting. That will trigger dopamine and your brain's reward system and give you a push to keep going. The second thing you can do is make the thing you want to do easier by eliminating common pitfalls in your environment that prevent you from doing the things you want to do. This may sound a little extreme, but I got rid of my TV and I got a couch that is comfortable to sit on, but not really comfortable for lounging. I used to get stuck on the couch in front of the TV, and it regularly prevented me from doing the things that I wanted to do. I would literally waste away days on the couch binge watching TV. So by eliminating that as an option, I get so much more done. And if I want to watch a TV show, I do it on my phone or on my computer while I'm getting other things done. This change has seriously given me so much more time back in my life to do the things that I actually want to do and are way better for my mental health than sitting on the couch binge watching TV shows. So if you have something like this in your life, maybe it's video games, maybe it's social media, maybe it's something else that takes up a significant amount of your time and you get stuck for hours and hours doing it, but it's not really productive and it's taking you away from doing the things that you really want to do, I would highly, highly encourage you to eliminate it from your life. I know that sounds scary and it sounds extreme, but if you are serious about making the things you want to do easier, that is a really, really impactful step that you can take. So the third reason why we procrastinate could be that we're worried we won't have anything to do if we get that thing done. This one's kind of funny because I realized I was so scared of being bored and having nothing to do that I would avoid doing things if that was the only thing I needed to do. Like I said earlier, transitions and starting things are hard. So once we get the engine going, we want to make sure that we make the most of it. And I used to be so worried about getting motivated and wanting to be productive, but then having nothing productive to do that I would literally avoid doing one simple thing if that's all I needed to do. Here's the thing. There will always be something to do. If you're motivated, you will always be able to find something, so you don't have to keep tasks on the back burner just to have something to do all the time. And it's better to get one thing done and then find something else to do afterwards instead of relying on overwhelming yourself with things to do in order to get one thing done. Similar to the first point, but this also ties into the next thing, which is there's just too much. Sometimes we procrastinate because there's just way too much to do. Sometimes we have so much on our plate that one human could not possibly get done in the amount of time that we've given ourselves to do it, so we get overwhelmed and just do nothing. This is also the danger of relying on stress to get things done. Sometimes we go too far and we push ourselves into paralysis. The key to getting over this is to take the pressure off of our plate. It helps me to write everything that's in my head that I want to get done down on paper. And then I completely start from scratch. Instead of trying to prioritize and organize that list, which is often very hard to do, I turn to a new page and I just write down in the simplest steps the next 1 to 3 things that I need to get done. Then I get working and I check them off as I go. I know that big list is there if I need to refer back to it, but clearing my head and only focusing on the things that I can immediately handle is so helpful. And before I share one final tip that has helped me immensely to end my struggle with procrastination, the 5th reason that people with ADHD procrastinate is if the thing we are procrastinating is a really big deal. If there is a ton of fear and emotions and unknowns that come along with doing this thing that we're procrastinating, we are so much more likely to avoid doing it. And that's understandable. Taking really big steps that could be life-changing is so scary. And maybe we don't know how to work through and process those emotions, so we let them hold us back. Also, maybe we're just not ready to take that huge step. Maybe there's more that we need to do in order to be ready. Honor that for yourself and work on giving yourself what you need to be ready rather than shaming yourself for procrastinating and not being able to get started. Starting my blog and this channel was exactly that for me. I've wanted to do this for years, and I didn't because it felt like such a big, scary step, and there were so many unknowns and fears holding me back, and I didn't feel like I was ready. what helped me get through this was to stop putting the pressure on myself to get a certain result. And instead, I just focused on the process. I focused on taking the steps I needed to take to get there rather than getting the result that I wanted. And that helped me actually take those steps and follow the process. It also made me feel more ready to take that really big step that I was procrastinating, which was actually launching and hitting publish. The other thing that I did that was so helpful was to make it not a big deal. I had built this up to be such a big thing in my head when really I needed to make actually doing the thing and taking the step as simple as putting on my shoes and going for a walk. When I made hitting publish less of a big deal and more of a normal thing, it made taking that step so much easier. So maybe the big thing that you're procrastinating, you've worked it up to be such a big thing in your head and put so much pressure around the result that you want to get. Of course, you're procrastinating doing. If you just tell yourself that the thing that you need to do is really not that big of a deal and you take all of those heavy emotions out of it, it makes actually taking that step so much easier. So those are 5 reasons why you might be procrastinating things. And my bonus tip for you is to change the way that you think about procrastination. Stop judging yourself for doing it or thinking about it as a bad thing, and instead recognize that there's a reason you're procrastinating and accept it as part of your process. I've accepted that when it comes to doing pretty much anything, a certain amount of procrastination is part of my process for getting things done. So now when I procrastinate, my goal is to understand the reason why I'm doing it and work through that reason to shorten the amount of time that I'm procrastinating before it becomes a problem, rather than trying to eliminate it altogether. And that mindset shift has been so helpful in getting the things I want to do done, rather than shaming myself and putting pressure on myself to jump into things before I'm ready. If you'd like to dive deeper into this topic with me, I offer one-on-one coaching. There's a link in the description to get on my calendar. I also run a free community called the Neurodivergent Network, where you can meet other neurodivergent people just like you. So make sure you sign up for that as well through the link in the description. Also, check out this next video.